Let me add my welcome to Liz's. You are all so very welcome here tonight, however you come to us with whatever grief and whatever faith. I hope you don't mind me sharing a little of why and how I have found comfort and hope in my darker days in some of those Christmas readings. Perhaps we might all find a little comfort and hope there today. Our first reading from Isaiah, we were told that the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. John's Gospel told us that in the beginning was the Word who was God, who was with God, who is the light, and who came to dwell among us. And that great light, of course, is to Christians Jesus of Nazareth, Emmanuel, God with us, that child who will be called all those names in Isaiah. Luke gave us the angels telling us this apparently is a cause of great joy, and Matthew that this light drew people from far outside the expected boundaries of faith. Pagan mystics, Gentiles, astrologers drawn to wonder and worship. It is a rich and complex story. I wonder where you are this evening with all of that. What are you feeling? Have you allowed yourself to feel any joy this season? Have you dared? I hope that you don't feel guilty for it. It is allowed. It is healthy and useful. But I get that it is hard. It's recognized, of course, I'm sure someone has unhelpfully told you that there are these many stages of grief, many feelings, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance. They don't come in any particular neat and tidy order, and more often they come one at a time and again in waves. And it is said that the weight of grief doesn't actually get any lighter. The complexity never gets any simpler, but I do know that we do get better at carrying it. I think that is true. We do get better at carrying it, but sometimes, however used we are to carrying it, we need to just put it down for a moment, to exhale, to acknowledge the burden, and this, I assure you, can be that space. Bring whatever it is that you have to God, because He can take it. It's a safe space to come and cry this evening. It's fine. I wonder what you believe. We come with all sorts of faith to this local parish church. Perhaps you're not sure what you believe. Perhaps you sit there with the Christmas story and going, well, it's just something the church is doing. And you just have a safe moment to come and cry with other grieving people, and that's fine. Perhaps you do believe, but you don't know what you believe, and it's complicated. I think that's pretty biblical. That first reading that I got to read from Isaiah, of these people walking in darkness and yet seeing a great light. Two opposite things at the same time. It's complicated. There's a tension in that, just like us, grieving at Christmas, crying amongst the tinsel. I have to say I cherish this evening. It is one of the most honest things we do all year at church. It is a safe space for whatever you feel and believe. Sometimes I think we take just a snapshot of Christmas, and it can seem glib and tinselly, donkeys and stables and chocolates and the Christmas lobster and so on. All that bloody joy. But enforced joy is no joy at all. Sometimes even in church we fall so deeply into the trap of celebrating the birth of Jesus, whom we love, that we forget to look at how He came. Christmas morning, if you care to join us, which will be at 10 o'clock, if you come, it's going to be all, it's Jesus' birthday, hurrah, and silly jumpers and kazoos and presents and carols and laughter and celebration and cake. And it'll be a short service so we can get home and do all the fun things. And that is good. That is how it should be. It is deeply good news to be celebrated that God is with us and loves us and saves us. We'll come back to that. Christmas morning is not the time to remember the context of that birth, but now perhaps might be. To remember that when God stepped into flesh, He did so in a world full of oppression and violence that sparked a genocidal burst of violence that sent Him to start His life in Egypt as a refugee, that He didn't start in a safe, recognizable little family, but was born to a young, unmarried woman lucky enough to have found a chap prepared to stand by her in a world where not enough women were lucky. Doesn't change enough, does it? That family saw a great light that first Christmas. Angels attested to it. Smiles of awe on their shepherd visitors attested to it. The gifts and adoration from the weary travelling kings attested to it. They must have known joy And yet they were still in darkness, fleeing the terror. They remained in darkness, but they had hope. So I salute you all this evening in coming tonight with your darkness in this season of light. It is a good and brave thing to do, an act of courage, of comfort and hope. And whatever you believe, you are certainly a gift to each other. You are lights in the darkness. One of the readings we haven't had, and you might know that I love, is Psalm 23. I have read it at funerals and gravesides and deathbeds with some of you. If I had to keep one bit of scripture, it'd probably be Psalm 23. I love it because it too is terribly honest. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, it says. You, Lord, are my shepherd. I wish it promised us that we didn't have to walk those paths, but it doesn't. We here all know that we do have to walk difficult paths, and it gives me enormous comfort and peace to know that I am accompanied on those paths, accompanied by someone who knew because he lived it. Jesus stood at gravesides and wept. He might have said those words. Someone who knew right from the start, for he was born into dark days. That's who I want alongside me. So I hope you know that you are loved and known and accompanied. That's where I find my comfort. Accompanied by God who knows and sees and is light even when the days are dark, even when we can't see it. And when I can't see God, which honestly sometimes I can't, it's good to be accompanied by his loving people. Because I don't always know what I believe, but I hope. Let me share something with you. There are these little tricks that the lectionary writers do, but the verse just before we heard from Isaiah said this, but there will be no gloom for those who are in anguish. One day, so much of the Bible assures us, one day all will be well. There will be no more weeping, no more mourning, no more anguish. I suppose among all the Christmas, we need to remember some Easter, that our God, so familiar with death, his friends, his families, his own, our God lived and died among us and conquered death and rose again and offered new life, life in all its fullness to us. A full life which should include love and so must include grief for now, but only for now. Somehow Christians manage to believe this and to hope. There's an Orthodox funeral song, a lovely one, the Kontakion, where people sing at each other's funerals that we will all go down to the grave and there sing our song, Alleluia, Alleluia. What a picture of faith and hope to affirm that one day all will be well. Until then, let us allow ourselves to hope, to find comfort in each other and in God. Know that you are accompanied by a God who understands and by those who dare alongside you to light tiny candle flames of hope as acts of resistance against the darkness, to say that even though sometimes it feels like it, the darkness will not overcome. Thank you.